Good evening, everyone. This is Ron. It is Monday, a little after 6 p.m., uh, and we'll go ahead and get started with our session. Do we have any questions? I think, what did we talk about on yesterday? We sort of field questions yesterday and talked about the feminine energy and looking at that and kind of in, I think, an uncovering kind of way. Uh, as far as talking about things that have happened in the past and just revealing those things and maybe uh, even being a little empowering in how we kind of discuss them. As we have said in the past, things are being revealed, things are being uncovered, and so that is a strength. It is something that needs to be done so that growth and spirituality can the universe can do what it's supposed to do rather. So that's what we basically talked about yesterday. But without me going into a lot of detail, but if there's any questions or comments about yesterday or anything else that may have grabbed your attention. Okay. No one? Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir. How we doing?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Okay. We were just about to get started, Pastor. Did you have something you wanted to open us up with, or hello?
I said no, not really.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry.
No.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. I tell you what, then I have been anxious and a little apprehensive to look at Isaiah 6. But I want to look at this because there's so much stuff in there. I think I mentioned to Barbara a couple weeks ago about this, and I know she sees some stuff in it too. Uh, but there's so much stuff in there, and some of it I don't quite get yet, but that's okay. Let's talk about it anyway, and see how far we get with this. Miss B, are you on tonight? Okay.
Yes, I'm on.
Okay. I want to read this, and I'm gonna kind of explain it as I see it, and then guys interrupt me if you would, and if you guys have something to add, because I think this is beautiful, and I think it describes us to a T. I really do, and that's what got me excited about it when I first noticed it, because I've never really uh, paid a lot of attention to the book of Isaiah for whatever reason I don't know, but this got my attention. Okay, first couple
Ron,
verses.
Ron,
Yes, ma'am.
can I offer a couple of words for background about Isaiah,
Yes, of course. Yes.
which would put it in context in a little bit. Um, Isaiah's name um, for God is holy. You everywhere you see it, that's what he relates to. Um, and Isaiah is a book about a prophet whose name means God saves.
Mm-hmm.
In general, the book is three parts. It's almost like a play or something like that. The first part is about judgment. The middle of it, starting at chapter 40, is about comfort, and the last part of it is a message of hope. So this fiery prophet kind of puts the burner under people first. And that's probably what you're going to start with, all the things that he says to the people. And after he puts the burner under them, then he begins to comfort them. So he talks a little bit about the fact that, Isaiah didn't mince words, and prophets usually don't fit in with regular people. They're usually there to irritate. And I don't mean that literally their intention is to irritate. The fact is, their head is somewhere else, and they are all about the message that's given to them. It doesn't matter if the people are irritated or not, or if the people like the message or not. So that's generally what the prophets do. They don't fit into our general way of life. He makes it hard for the people to just dismiss the Creator. And he talks about, and this is just a generic overview, I'm almost through, that he doesn't try to be diplomatic. He doesn't try to say things to appease itching ears. It's like they're just jacking us up and showing us in our face all of the ways that we have, what we are coming short, whatever that means, coming short of understanding who we are. And then finally, as he progressed from, showing us who we are, then that's when he began to comfort. And then subsequently, he began to reveal the message of hope. So he makes it impossible for people to evade the Holy One. He just doesn't give them any ground to stand on. Thanks.
No, thank you. Beautifully said. Thank you. Any questions, guys? Okay. I'm gonna read first couple of verses here. Then we'll talk for a minute. Verse 1, chapter 6 of Isaiah. In the year of King Uzziah's death, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne, lofty and exalted, with the train of his robe filling the temple. Seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings, and with two he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he flew. And one called out to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the foundation of the thresholds trembled at the voice of him who called out while the temple was filling with smoke. We'll stop right there. Here's how I looked at this. This is all spiritual, as really is what Barbara said. And I see this as us. And I see this as a journey of where we are now. This is a pause as to where we are now. You really can't get an understanding of this or I'm going to go back to chapter 1, and I'm just going to read verse 1. You don't have to go back there. You can stay where you are, but I'm going to read this and kind of join this into what I just read. The vision of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, concerning Judah and Jerusalem, which he saw during the reign of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah. Now, this marks a journey. This marks a journey. If you look at it from a practical perspective, what it is saying is he knew all of these kings. This is what he was a prophet under 4 different kings of Judah and Jerusalem. And so he is quite familiar. He has experienced these kings. I'm looking at this as Isaiah, though, Isaiah's name means to deliver, or deliver. Yahweh delivers, uh, as Barbara said. I'm looking at this as us being the energy of an Isaiah. We are becoming deliverers, or we have become deliverers. And this is when you reach the point where you recognize that part of you. You see it and you no longer run from it. You see it and you embrace it. So the part and I'm gonna go back to that verse I just read, verse 1. But in the year that King Uzziah's death, that is a lot there. Just that sentence. Year is talking about a cycle. It is a cycle that you put into play. It is a cycle that you start. It is a spiritual thing. And we've talked about these cycles. We talked about the planets lining up. We talked about the year of Aquarius, age of Aquarius, excuse me. We talked about all these things happening. And what we were saying is these are not coincidences. The universe is responding to someone searching for truth. And as part of things being revealed and as part of purification taking place, this is both individually to us and externally to us. So when you look at this, these are things that Isaiah puts into motion. So it is not necessarily talking about Uzziah's physical death. It is talking about, if I can use myself for an example, you hear me sometimes talk about my life and all the things that I went through to get here to this point. One of the things I remember is my dad talking to me when I kind of got serious about things and I'm questioning things. And I even went from church to church. And we were sitting down one Sunday at my mom's house, and everybody was, sitting around the table. And I told my dad that I want to leave that church. I need to go. I don't know where I'm going. I'm looking, but I don't see what I'm looking for. He didn't take that very well. He didn't take it, because as I found out, my grandfather was one of the ones that helped found the church that we were in, and how long my family had been there, and those sort of things. But I sat there and listened to him. I wasn't disrespectful, but I'm sitting there thinking, you haven't given me a reason to stay. So that to me is when Uzziah died. My father's God died that day. I could not go any further with that. So when you look at this thing, Uzziah died of leprosy, and we've talked about leprosy. Leprosy is a disease that attacks the skin and the nervous system, and looking at it from a spiritual perspective, it affects your nervous system, which means there's a numbness there. So we talk all the time about rhythm and vibrations and those sort of things, but in the spiritual world, that's what this leprosy is saying. There was no vibration. So what he is saying is, when this rhythm ended, and I recognized that I could go as far as I could with Uzziah, then it was time to move. So the cycle is something that you put into motion as you search, as you desire, as you say, what if, as you say, there has to be more to this. What he sees here, because God does not sit on a throne. He's not a physical being that sits on a throne. But what he sees here is what he was used to. He names these four kings because these were all godly men when you look their names up. So he had positive relationships. He had great relationships with them. If you look at this thing, and so what he's used to is seeing that type of authority sitting on a throne. So he sees God loft and sitting on the throne. And but this one appears to be different. But again, this is something that he helped to reveal. What do I mean by that? If you think about the reason that Uzziah died, if I'm looking at this from an internal perspective, Isaiah was seeing something. His energy, his vision was seeing something that the priesthood and the king were one in the same. That authority was one in the same. Why? Because Uzziah tries to be the priest. That's what got him the leprosy. So if you look at it from that practical perspective and apply it in a spiritual way and look at this as all an internal journey that takes place, what Isaiah sees in this first verse is something he's not used to. He sees the authority of kingship and the authority of the priest sitting on the same throne. If you look, it says his train of his robe filled the temple. In a practical sense.
Back you up a second, please. Ron?
Yes, sir.
Let me back you up a second, please.
Okay.
When you were talking about Uzziah and his death, it was not speaking that he left his body in terms of death like that. His death came with the leprosy. He was dead to everything that he held dear. And because he was dead to everything that he held dear, that's when I says he saw the Lord, because he saw how Uzziah did not honor the priest. He did what he did because of his arrogance, and as a result of that, he ended up with leprosy. And those with leprosy were separated from everybody else. So in that regard, he died.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
And I hope I'm not. Is it everybody? Anybody?
So this first verse then is talking about something that was a marker in a sense for Isaiah.
Yes.
Something happened for the energy called Isaiah. Something happened that caused it to say, I saw the Lord. And if you go back to the other books that have information, one of them talked about Isaiah seeing a vision, and literally a vision moving up through the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh heavens, and saw the Lord. So internally, there's something occurred that was significant enough for him to just fall on his face and say, this is important. This is so important. And so my question to everybody else is, has that happened to you? When was your Moses burning bush day? When was your Isaiah I saw the Lord day? Because that's what this is all about. What is it that significantly impacted you after you started this journey of truth that let you know that I got to go this way? There is absolutely no turning back. So this was that kind of moment, if you will. Thank you.
No, thank you. That's exactly what I was heading. I see us all over this, that each and every one of us had that, as you put it, that burning bush moment that lit the fire and started your journey. And and part of that uh, journey, I think we can see not only individually but collectively. And I've looked, just looking at the things we've studied in the last year, how they connect not only with us internally, but what's going on in the earth. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think that is all a part of our cycle. And I think that's why a lot of the stuff is being revealed to us, because we are seeing not only what we need to grow, but what mankind needs. So yeah, it did help me to see my aha moment in this. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Ron, this is Charles. When you said smoke filled the temple, what you mean? I know that's an allegory of the smoke. What it was representing when it filled the temple.
Okay, let's get to that. It's talking about his train, his robe, the train of his robe filling the temple. And I'll get to the smoke in just a second, Charles. But the funny thing about what he sees here, in a practical way, what would happen is kings would go out and conquer other territories. So when you conquered a territory, what you did is you cut off that king's robe and you sewed it onto your robe. So your robe, as you conquered things, became longer and longer and longer. So you could look at someone's robe and sort of see their history of their battles and where they've gone. This one says, this robe fills the temple. The train of his robe filled the temple. There is nothing attached to this.
Ron.
What is it? Yes, sir.
Before you go into the explanation of that, I would like to finish with Uzziah.
Okay.
Because I think Uzziah plays a major role, and understanding Uzziah will help us to understand why that in the eye of Uzziah he was dead. And the reason he was dead in the eye of Uzziah is because, of Isaiah, is because Isaiah witnessed something that Uzziah did that was totally against everything he knew was right in regards to the worship of Yahweh. When he went into the temple and the priest told him not to come in, not to burn the incense, and he was enraged with the priest. And as soon as he lit the incense, that's when the leprosy covered him. So it appeared first on his forehead, and so what I'm saying is he remained a leper until the day he died. But he died to Isaiah the moment that Isaiah saw him enraged at the priest and taking over the burning of the incense, something that only the children of Aaron was supposed to do. So Isaiah no longer saw him the way he did prior to that. Does that make sense? Now, the reason he wanted, why did he light the incense? Why was he so arrogant? Because he had just come from a battle where he had conquered the king, and his arrogance got the best of him. And that's when Isaiah said he was dead to him. I'm done.
Okay. Anyone else? Questions, comments? Okay. Let's see.
His train fills the temple.
Yeah. Okay. And what this is saying is, that this is saying that no matter what religion, no matter what approach any man has come to God with, this train represents power, represents authority. This represents reigning over any other type of religion or any other type of approach to God that is out there. So it is lofty, it is exhausted, it is a conqueror, it is power. So it is symbolic of the kingship and the priesthood. So when it talks about the temple, of course, you're looking at a robe. Robes were worn by priests and by royalty. So this supersedes anything that is on earth, is what this is showing you. Any questions about anything we've said so far? The seraphim stood above him, each having 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, and with 2 he covered his feet, and with 2 he did fly. He flew. This to me, the seraphims to me are they mean burners or fiery ones, and I think because when we look at this thing, you have a tendency to think that the purification takes place when he puts the coal in his mouth. The purification takes place all along. And these seraphims to me represent purification. They represent that fire that burns inside of you, that looks internally at who and what you are. When you see yourself, you've come to a point where you're starting to see internally who you are. You're starting to see the things of the universe. You're starting to understand things, and you look at this and you recognize, who am I to see this? Am I seeing this correctly? Is this me, or is this something else? Am I imagining this? So the purification takes place here, and what it is saying is who you are now, what you have done in the past, covering your face, covering your feet, and in one instance, might say something. In one instance, that covered his feet was not feet at all. It talks about his groin or his genitalia. So what this is saying is, you are no longer the human or the person that you have built yourself to be. You are a spiritual being now. The thing that moves you now, the thing that is the action part of you that helps me, is you are able to fly. You're lofty. You have taken flight. You're spiritual now. So this is through this purification. He looks at what takes place, and he sees first. I looked these numbers up as well, because it's 3 sets of wings, and 3 talks about new life and resurrection. 3 talks about unity, and 6, because there's 6 wings. 6 is talking about also the number of man. It's talking about having knowledge, and it comes from the letter Gimel. No, the letter Vav. Excuse me. That means to make a connection, or to have an image, or make a connection, or knowledge. So I did not see all of the numbers as far as the connection that it's making, but I think that is significant as well. If somebody sees something with the numbers, I'd appreciate it.
I'm also wondering if it does not show, in a sense, um, heaven and earth concepts of the
Yeah, that's a
consciousness
good point. Yeah,
versus consciousness of earth consciousness, covering the feet. Everything. I mean, for Isaiah, for the prophets, even everything is sacred. We talked about this one time. It doesn't matter whether you think you're in charge or not. It doesn't matter whether you have a job. Every single thing, everything, all the ground you stand on is sacred. Whether you understand it and know it or not.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think he's seeing himself, a newer version of himself. It's almost like when we were studying Job, and you look at the things that happened to Job. It's no coincidence that these things happen as we have put ourselves in motion to understand truth and to say, I am the image and likeness of God. I am Elohim. It puts things in motion, and it opens you up for events to happen to you, not to punish you, but to show you who you are, to open you up, and so you can see who you are. And that's what you're seeing taking place here. So let me see where we are. And the foundation, and one called out to another, saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory." And the foundation of the threshold and the temple at the voice of Him who called out, while the temple was filling with smoke. The temple is you. You are the temple. The shaking is what takes place when truth is being uncovered inside of you. The shaking is what takes place when you recognize and see who you are and embrace it. So as all of this happens, you are being purified. We do go through a questioning of who we are and what this is. Can this be happening? But as you accept it, as you embrace this thing, it is you that's being shaken. You look at the smoke, and everywhere you see that Israel spoke with God, you see smoke. You see it when they were in the desert. This is this is spiritual. This is Him being filled with the Spirit. This is your temple, your being, your God. So all of this is happening internally. All of this is happening as He put things into motion, and as He sees this, and based on, and it all started with His experience. As we go back to that first verse that talks, first verse in chapter 1, it talks about His experiences with those kings. It talks about those things that He has lived and witnessed and been a part of. So all of this is internally inside of Him. Okay? Any questions, y'all? So when he gets to a point that says, "Woe is because I'm a man unclean lips, full of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King of the Lord of hosts." So he has experienced this. He's embraced it now. And excuse me. When you look this up, when you look at lips, there's a lot of scripture out there that talks about the tongue, that talks about lips, and this is not just talking about that part of the anatomy. It's talking about your thoughts. It's talking about your heart. It's talking about you as he says this, what he's doing is he's doing a self-evaluation. He's looking at himself and like saying, whoa, look at me. How can I be standing here? How can this be happening to me? Who am I to do this? But at the same time, he's in awe of it. He's embracing it. So that's what is taking place. So the smoke again, Charles, is just the Spirit of God that is being filled with, and he's being shaken. He's being shaken to his core to make sure that he understands and sees what he believes in. It's not for God's sake. It's for his sake. It's for our sake. That energy of Isaiah is in every one of us.
Ron, can I ask a question here?
Of course.
So would this be like, could I draw the same kind of thought line with the things that are happening in the world right now, where we're being shaken by the things we see or experience, and it's a means of seeing what it is we believe in? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, sort of, but I'm looking at it more internally. What I'm saying is, regardless of what's happening externally out in the world, whether or not you're looking at happening in America or happening abroad, there is something taking place inside of us, preparing us for those things. It's no coincidence they happen at the same time. Just like it's no coincidence what we as I said, we talked about the stars and the planets and all those things. Searching for truth opens up you for change. It opens up that womb inside, that cavity inside of you to be filled, to be transformed. And as it does, it affects the universe. So all these things are taking place, and all these things that we see, whether we want to call them chaotic or sinful or whatever, that all of that stuff takes place because before there's a cleansing that takes place, all of this stuff has to be uncovered. All of it has to be revealed. So that's all a part of it. It's not quite one and the same, but all of it is a part of the same. Does that make sense, or can somebody else help me with that?
That makes real good sense. Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else? Feel like I'm struggling a little bit with this, but tell me, if it makes sense to you?
It does to me, and maybe that's why there's no question.
It does to me as well.
Makes sense to me.
So in verse 5, is where his eyes are opened, and he sees. He begins to accept who and what he is. What do I mean by accept? As I said to you a while back, several. There were a couple of things that happened at Greater New Faith before we all came together. One, we were sitting at church one day, and Pastor started talking about giving up your free will and giving up his free will. And I wasn't there. I was there physically. I mean, I wasn't there to see that. It took me a while to get there. And that's what I'm, I guess, referring to is I see this is written as a story like it just happened overnight. And maybe it can happen that way. But to me, it's a wrestling. It's a an acceptance kind of thing. It's a believing. It's a part of you that says, yes, this can be you. Why not you? Why not me? How can it be? You can accept it or see it in someone else and not you. So you look at it from that perspective, and the free will thing was hard. The accepting of being Elohim wasn't something that was hard. Like I didn't want to do it. It was something I couldn't see. So it took me a while to be able to see that. So what he says, my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. That's a mouthful. Because what he's saying is, I see it in me. I see the transformation that takes place. His name means to deliver. I am becoming deliverance. I see. Yeah, yes, sir.
I thought you were finished. Go ahead and finish the thought.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm done.
When he said that he was doomed, for I am a man of impure lips, I impure, and I dwell among people with impure lips, impure speech. And then he says, for my eyes have seen the King, hushing. Now, this is the thing about that. It does not say eyes. This appears to be the first time that the idea saw with the eye. He said, my eye has seen, as opposed to his eyes. So this tells us that this is totally spiritual. And prior to this, Isaiah was no different than we were, seeing with his eyes and believing only what his eyes saw and what he had been told. Now, he's at a place where we have been also, at that place, at that fork in the road, at a place where a decision has to be made. And rather than stay in the place he was with those with unclean lips, or with language that was not that was not conducive to the language of the Lord. Isaiah saw with his eye. With us, what is he saying to us when he say unclean lips? We spoke the same language as did the religion that we came out of. We dwelled in the midst of those with unclean lips. That does not mean someone is using profanity. It means that the language that's being used in regards to spirituality are adverse to what the Creator intends for us to see. Does that make sense?
Makes good sense. That fits perfectly.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So now that he realizes that, as we realize that, what did we do? We said, oh my God, where do we go from here? And Isaiah was excited because of what he was shown with his eye. And he says, no one can see the Lord and live. What is he talking about? You can't see the face of God and live. He's not talking about seeing the face of God like he sees your face. He's talking about the essence of the Creator. He's talking about when he say, with my eye, it couldn't possibly be a body part that he was seeing with, neither was it a body he was seeing. I see it now. It's what we use in our vernacular when we see something differently than we had seen it in the past. And that's what Isaiah was saying. I see it now. And and now that he was able to see it, that's when everything began to change for him in that next verse. Thank you.
Thank
So,
you.
Rev, so what you're saying that his whole being, it just wasn't his eye or he had, it's just like his whole being saw the Lord. You understand what I'm saying? It ain't just his eye or whatever. I mean, every part of him saw him.
This is what I'm saying, Charles. His eye, he saw the Lord with his eye. When he saw the Lord with his eye, it's not that he saw him visually, it's that he experienced the presence.
Gotcha.
He experienced the presence. And he knew that from that day forward he would be different. But he didn't know how. Does that help you, sir?
He hit the nail on the bell.
Okay, thank you.
I believe part of it also, in addition to that, is that he knew himself. He talked about all these other things about, okay, I'm really, my words not worthy, my lips, I can't say it, blah, 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 blah. But with the eye, it was an internal, just like any Isaiah energy in us, is that internal look inside of ourselves, coming face to face with who we thought we were, with everything that we thought we were, and then really understanding that all of that is nothing compared to who I really am, because I have the essence of the Creator, which sets him up for later on saying, who's gonna go? And I just send me. I'm ready now. Oh, I know you, and I know me.
Yeah.
So it's to know yourself in a sense.
Yeah. And the other part that I don't want to leave out is you go back to that first verse in chapter 1. All of your experiences have prepared you for this, and that is who we are as well. All of your experiences have prepared you for this moment. And we talk about putting things in the macro and revealing everything. All of us have moved here based on, this journey is just not starting like Isaiah. This journey is just not starting when the cold touches your lips. It started a long time ago. Things started in motion. So yeah, I love that. His eye has seen the King. He recognized now that he's different. And again, those seraphims, if you notice, because I read all kind of things trying to look that up, and there, people were saying, well, they were not worthy of looking on God. This had nothing to do with them looking on God. They are there particularly to minister to Isaiah, to get him prepared, to help him to see clearly who he is. And he is the one that created them, not so much literally, but put all this in motion is what I'm saying. If it was not for his desire, if it was not for Uzziah dying and him recognizing that, you know what, something needs to be done, there is more to that. This is spiritual. This is spiritual. That puts all of this into motion. Then one of the seraphims flew to me with a burning coal in his hand, which he had taken from the altar with tongs. And he touched my mouth with it and said, behold, this has touched your lips, and your iniquity is taken away. Your sin is forgiven. I love that part. Your sin is forgiven. We are, again, I think it reminds me of where we are in this journey right now. We have experienced quite a bit, and I even dare say we've experienced some things that may not have been experienced in the earth before, as far as understanding this and as far as revealing things in the atmosphere. None of it is happenstance. None of it is, as Kathy did a lesson long ago, looking at the changes that started with the Reagan presidency and moving forward. None of that just happened. We have moved to a place where we transcend time. And the number one objective is mankind to be the energy of Isaiah, to be that type of deliverance. So as we look at this, no longer, no matter how much I individually stumbled or whatever, I see, behold, this has touched your lips, and your iniquity is taken away. Your sin is forgiven. So that is not just speaking about this verse. It is speaking to us individually. And it's something that we readily accept and embrace as we move forward. What caused that? How do you know that this is done? Because you have a desire for truth. You are the one who has a desire for truth. You are the one that recognized that Uzziah died. So,
So, Ron, are you saying then that I am I am my deliverer?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Hey, Ron.
Yes, sir.
Well, when we look at this and we talk about the iniquity is taken away, the depravity is taken away. Then it gets to the sin.
Say it one more time, Pastor.
It's saying that what is it? Depravity ways are taken away. You're no longer guilty for all of these things, this iniquity that you have been engaged in. Is taken away from you. Now, then it says your sin is forgiven. Every entanglement that you have, you've been purged of it. And I want us to think about that, not through the eyes, but the eye. When we look at that through the eyes, you have all those do's and don'ts in the church that we call sin that you've been forgiven for. But this is more than that. This is to the point of saying that anything that you have been entangled with that kept you from seeing as you should have seen is forgiven. It's purged. Why would he say that? Because once we have this experience, we see the Yahweh with our eye, we have this experience. And we cannot move forward on the journey if we are laden with guilt about the iniquities that's been in our lives or about the entanglements that we've had, whether they be entanglements with religion or entanglements with business, it doesn't matter. All the entanglements, you can't move forward with that because it's heavy on you. How can I be doing this? And what this is what I did before I started this journey. And even while I was on the journey, I did this, I did that. He's saying, forget that. I got you. When I cleanse your lips, when I cleanse your speech, I'm doing it because you are not as you were before. Even though you may do things or speak things, it is different than it is before, because you going to come to your senses and realize who you are. Every one of us on this phone has spoken things since we've been on this journey that we should not have said, and perhaps have done things that we should not have done. And he said, don't let that burden you. Be cleansed of, you are cleansed of everything. If these things were an inhibitor while we are on this journey, then we would not be seeing what we see now, because none of us lives a life free of any iniquity or an entanglement. Any questions or comments about that? Okay. Thank you. So throw your checklist away. It does not apply on this journey.
Yeah, I agree. This whole thing liberating. Go ahead, Pastor. I'm sorry.
That's what I get ready to say. When you do that, you will find that life is easier to live. And there are some things you are just not going to do or say. The end. I'm done. Thank you for yielding.
Yes, sir. Now, excuse me, I'm sorry.
So, Ron, while you're thinking, so when we say something like out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks, then this energy, our lips, which represent what we use to bring forth the thoughts from our heart, because we are no longer have the guilt, we no longer have the shame, we no longer have the entanglement. So our heart is free, and the coal can represent that purging and that burning away of those things in our heart that entangle us and that have kept us bound. And so, in a sense, that out of the abundance of the heart means now I see me, I see the Creator, and I can speak freely because I don't have that guilt any longer.
Yeah.
See that? Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I only looked at this as far as verse 8. Here's from verse 9 on, though, fascinates me, and I'm not going to skip verse 8. I want to come back to that. But verse 9 says, he says, go and tell this people, keep on listening, but do not perceive. Keep on looking, but do not understand. Render your heart to this people insensitive, their ears dull, their eyes dim, lest they see their own. Does that not sound like religion? They see and they say all the right things, but they have no understanding. So, Barbara mentioned a few minutes ago, she said, I am my own deliverer. You see where else this puts us. You see where this puts us as we back up and look at these other verses where it talks about covering your eyes and you're no longer who you are. These are not things that you will not approach life, and you will not approach men the rest of this journey the way you always have. Your journey is going to change. Your vision is going to change. Who you are is going to change, and you're going to be commissioned. To say, then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And I said, "Here am I. Send me." And I intentionally use us as examples because I know we've traveled this journey. Because if you have made the declaration in your heart that I truly want to give up my free will, you are saying, "Send me." If you have said that I see and I embrace that I am Elohim, I feel that now. You are saying, "Send me." Here I am. Send me. We have said from the very beginning, this is about deliverance. This is about forgiveness. This is about compassion. So, looking at this, it sounds like you're being commissioned now to see. You know who you are. I want you to see clearly who you are and what this mission is all about. So this is all, like I said, it reminded me of where we are now, and that's what kind of intrigued me about it. So
the beauty of it that for me was the essence, the energy of Isaiah says, "Okay, I'm ready now. Go, send me, send me, send me." But if what happens afterwards, things may not look like they're changing. It may look like the people are getting worse. It may look like things are not getting better at all. But that should not change us, as you said. We are the changed ones.
Yeah.
And so regardless of what we see with the eye has said, we know who we are. We know ourselves because we know our Creator who knows us. Our Creator is us, and we are our Creator. So you can't be distracted by what things look like. See internally. Don't see outwardly. See internally. And what the Creator has said later on is when Isaiah was talking to his son, a remnant will return. He says, "It won't happen." All of the stuff that you see out there, it won't happen. So we've got to keep our focus internally. That's all I
have. In addition to that, what that word for "go" can also mean to walk, and walk speaks to me as take your time. Don't be in a rush. So how long should I walk this journey? He says in verse 10 and 11, and the answer was, until the cities are wasted, until they crash, and until the inhabitants, those who dwell in the cities, and the houses without man, and the land be utterly desolate. This is not talking about desolate in the way of a desert. This is talking about being desolate in your daily living. What are we doing? We are seeing the decimation of this current society. We are seeing it fall apart. We are witnessing the dismantling of a colonial country, and in its place building a nation. This is the opportunity that we have been given, and the journey we've been on, And I believe that what we are doing at this moment during this period is seeing our journey retrospectively, seeing how we started this journey, understanding it more now, and being made aware that this journey that we are on is what it's supposed to be. When it talks about the cities being desolate, this is what it's supposed to be. The friction that we see, the so-called division that's present, all of these things are as a result of saying, "Send me. I'll walk this journey. I'll go." And going and saying you're going is one thing, but to continue the journey in the face of all of the adversities that we see every day takes strength and a reassurance. And we are reassured every single time that we meet that we are on the right pathway, and we are seeing the results of a crumbling society, so that humanity can become the balance that it is supposed to be. I'm done.
Well, there is a lot of information there, but I think we pull this together beautifully. And not to say that we won't revisit it or through with it, but is that clear to everybody? Does it make sense? Any questions, I guess, is what I need to ask. Okay. But that's about all I had, unless Pastor or Barb had something else. I didn't think we'd get that far, but we did. So, and I hope we see ourselves. I hope also this is a reassurance. Sometimes you need that. You need to be embraced. You need a hug. You need to know that, hey, I know that this is what we're doing. It's God's will, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's best for mankind. So I hope this is offered that. So
Ron,
that's about.
this is Jackie. I got a quick
Jackie.
question, Ron. I apologize. Hey,
No,
I got
no.
on kind of late. Can you tell me what book you were in? What scripture?
Isaiah chapter 6.
Okay.
We were not verse by verse so much, but for probably the first half of it, verse by verse,
Okay.
and then we just, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So I know a lot was said, and I would encourage you guys to listen to it again and see if we have any questions about it Saturday. Okay. If there's nothing else to grab our attention, I guess that would be it for tonight. Thank you very much. Appreciate everybody's comments and questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you, everyone.
you.